I have one or two speculative questions before you close.
Yeah,
So one is, um, I wanted to start off with we spoke about three companies, which three large console makers. One was Sony, Nintendo, and I think Microsoft. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah, correct.
Like in your thinking, like how like how have these companies done, and what role do you see these companies playing? Um, are they are they a like the way I'm thinking about this, like we think about Apple, right? So Apple, when they make products, or the role that they play is a huge role, right? Like when they
Yeah,
make laptops, or the changes that they make, like the app transparency change that they made, it affects a lot of people, and they have certain values that they, good or bad, that's
yeah,
debatable, but they have certain values that they have, and they project those to the consumers, and that has obviously shaped the way not only how consumers behave but also how businesses behave as well.
yeah,
So in that way, I'm trying to understand, how have you seen these large companies have kind of, what role they have played, and how do you, as a gamer, or maybe as a VC, or as a gamer, or just as a normal person, how do you evaluate these
yeah.
large companies? Like, what thoughts do you have?
I worry about this business, right? I worry about it as a consumer, as a lover of games. I worry about the things that happen in the space. So at times I find myself extremely excited about the developments, just excited every day to see what's a new game that is coming out, what's a new technology breakthrough that comes out. That keeps exciting me. But looking at how the economics of this business is evolving is concerning for me, at least the nature of this platform activity and how that market power concentration is happening with these people, right? That's the part that concerns me a little bit as a gamer. Let's take the example of Microsoft for that matter, right? They own this massive distribution of Xboxes, multiple Xboxes sort of installed everywhere. um, they have the cloud infrastructure to make cloud gaming possible whenever the time sort of comes. uh, Now they're acquiring gaming content businesses like Activision, massively large IP based businesses. A lot of reasons why people enter into gaming is they start by playing out these extremely popular games, and then they start discovering more and more games, right? So existence of large publishers is generally a good thing even for the smaller publishers, right? So now they're acquiring them and they're consolidating power, and they're consolidating power through interesting things like subscriptions, right? What they're essentially saying is, hey, you know what, you don't need to pay $60 individually to each gaming publisher. Just buy the subscription. It costs you $15 every month, and you buy that subscription and you get access to an entire library of games. Basically, the Netflix sort of trend sort of happening in video games, right? But what ends up happening is it might not be an extremely profitable or a viable situation for a lot of game developers, right? Because ultimately you would be making lesser money net because a customer who would have paid $60 to buy your game no longer has any reason to do that. They would rather just buy the $15 subscription. Now, do you have an option to sit out of the subscription? Probably not, right? Because you want your game to be played by the largest number of people, and that's how more and more people discover it and talk about it. So it is in your incentive to be in the platform with the largest amount of distribution, right? Now, if the distribution markets are extremely consolidated and people have monopoly power over them, and they determine all the rules, then the content creators and the developers themselves find themselves constrained and having to work within their rule books, and their economics can get disrupted under their feet within a matter of days and weeks, right? Uh, so I worry about that trend, the consolidation of power and vertical integration that's happening within the console space. But I guess that's just generally how capitalism works, and power sort of gets accumulated across. The only hope is that that doesn't really prove detrimental to newer and novel sort of content being created, and the larger the companies get, the lesser their risk appetite and lesser they try to venture outside formulas that work, right? For example, why would you make a completely new interpretation of how to play a football game when it's a format has already worked for the past 25 years, right? Yeah. What I worry about is stifling of innovation because things just become predictable cash flows for these businesses. As long as that doesn't happen, I mean, that's great. The best possible outcome is when there is very clear regulatory frameworks on how these people can and cannot operate, how the suppliers of content and their rights are preserved from a global regulatory standpoint, and that's already happening across markets like EU, US, and even India for that matter, right? With regulations happening on top of Android. Uh, those plus a highly competitive environment for distribution and an even chance for publishers to find and discover consumers and gain wallet share from them. That's the healthy mix of industry that would provide the most amount of fun for consumers, because that can deliver the most different types of games in different types of formats, which just makes all of us happier, right? So as long as that happens, I think we'll be good.
Any theories on why Apple has not entered the? I'm making the assumption that Apple has not entered the games market. Like, any theories on why?
Oh, Apple is very well in the games market, right? Like I previously talked about, they already are taking up enough value without really making any gains, just by running their app store, right? So technically, that money is made from gamers, right? So they are in the games market that way, and they
Like, I'm
also
thinking
have,
about like I'm
yeah,
thinking about like I think Steve spoke about this in one of the presentations, but
yeah,
when he was alive, um, I think he gave a reason why he is not interested in gaming. But anyways, um, but I'm talking about like consoles. Like, I'm curious as to do you have any theories on why they have not made like they
yeah,
yeah, consoles is one thing, but even now that I think of it, even TVs they don't make TVs as well. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, seems
I mean, interesting to think about. I mean, why would they sort of do that? I guess it just requires a completely different sort of a DNA to sort of make a gaming company, and I don't think Apple necessarily sort of fits into that archetype of, because to create a true gaming company, you would have to figure out all these pieces simultaneously, right? It's not sufficient enough to build a computing platform. You'll also need to figure out how to create content, how to create content predictably, and how to create content while taking lesser amount of risk over a period of time, right? So transforming Apple from its current ecosystem business to making a content first business is likely to be a couple of leaps away, but I'm sure internally they are evaluating the space closely. The profit pools are clearly there, and they've already attacked the places which are low hanging fruit so far, right? They're taking revenue off the Play Store. They launched an Apple Arcade subscription, which is basically subscriptions for mobile games, and essentially targeting the mid tail and the long tail of mobile games that are sort of made. And they're already targeting the ad tech business, right? Ad tech business is probably about $20 billion. Just the business of retargeting ads and allowing people to discover games. Money that was made previously by DSPs and SSPs. Now, because Apple deprecated IDFA, they didn't just sit out by saying that we are not going to do anything. They launched their own ad advertising business called SK Ad Network, and they expect to drive a lot of the mobile acquisition traffic and business through there. So they'll probably make more money from there, right? So directly or indirectly, Apple is there in the business. It's just a matter of time before they start thinking about more meaningful ways to sort of like make it. But it's pretty much the hits and misses driven business, because of the nature of that, which people generally hesitate to make investments in gaming industry, right? I think that will ultimately save the industry from just five players dominating the industry completely, right? That just cannot happen, because it's just very hard to sort of like bottleneck innovation and true gameplay innovation in just four or five locations. It's just simply infeasible to do. You just need enough amount of diversity in creativity and people working on different problems from completely different lenses to make new gameplay formats, right? So I think that will sort of ensure that content sort of remains distributed, even though in other areas we might be able to see more consolidation.
I think, yeah, I mean, they might be thinking about this. I mean, I'm kind of thinking about they started Apple TV as well. Not
Yeah,
Apple TV in the sense they have their streaming. They have their Apple Studios, no, which makes
yeah,
Apple originals, TV shows, and movies.
yeah,
So maybe in a decade or two, I don't know. Maybe they will venture into games as well. Who knows?
yeah,
Um,
possible.
you already shared your final thoughts, but is there anything I forgot? Is there anything we missed out, or second part two of final thoughts? Like, I don't know.
Nothing. I think thank you so much for the great conversation. Always happy to sort of talk about games and how this industry itself is sort of like growing up, right? Just want to probably pause and take a note, or give a shout out to the game developers that are out there, right? People who are thinking of taking ambitious bets at making meaningful strides within the games industry. People are exploring how to make games, how to make profitable games, how to sort of like make that into meaningful businesses. Just wanted to give a call out to them saying that there is enough amount of ecosystem support that is out there that you can reach out to and tap to sort of make your journey much more easier, right? Players across the ecosystem, VCs like us, are more than happy to help in sort of solving many of those challenges. And there are ecosystem players like Sony, Nintendo, Unity, etc., coming in and actively trying to develop the ecosystem themselves, right? So the resources are out there, the market is out there, the talent is also there, and we just need the right sort of pushes and incentives for them to start coming in and making those games that we would truly be proud of, saying that it got made here and now it's being played by a global audience, right? We're yet to cross that line there. And I think the ecosystem is just ready to provide whatever support it is needed to sort of make those dreams come true for developers. And it's a small enough world right now, and we need all the help that we can get.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Vivek. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Take care.